Good morning and welcome. Patriot Radio News Hour, Joe and Jason. Man, where does the time go? Wrapping up the month of June here as we're closing out the first 6 months of chaos that has been 2024. And, man, you know what? It's always hard on Monday, right? You get into the weekend. You try to do everything you can to not think about right, what is going on in the world and try to unplug yourself, but then it just keeps hitting you in the face, right, over and over and over again. We've got a big week this week. We're going to have another inflation number, the PCE number this week. We've got the debate, right? Donald and Joe Biden. We'll see. I'm sure it will not be fair and balanced, but I want to say it's the CNN debate. RFK Jr. did not qualify. So again, making sure that we have the illusion of choices, right? That this two-party system that somehow that's all we ever get. And then probably the biggest thing, the French elections. As most of you know, we talked about France last week and the financial situation as expected over the weekend. France has now been put on review by the EU. They're not going to be the only ones. Don't worry. Let's face it. Everybody's debt's on the EU. Everyone's debt's on the list. Who was it? Was it Fitch? It was either Fitch, Moody's, S&P, one of them. One more government shutdown, and they're going to downgrade U.S. debt again. And I'm just kind of laughing, right? Okay. Everybody knows it's already unpayable. But we'll just keep pretending anyway. But after the bell closed Friday, and again, it's deliberate. When I tell you that the system isn't made for you, it isn't made for me, it's not made for Jason. And what's this? The banking system, this Federal Reserve system that got put into place in 1913 after bankers like Rockefeller, Morgan, right, the Warburgs and others essentially got their buddies and family members elected into government. Brilliant, right? They figured it out. It's not meant for us. Over the weekend, well, I guess Friday after the bell, they had to come out and say, and again, you won't hear it today. By the way, I just want to throw this out there. The Dow's up 300 points on this news. Talking about the too big to fail banks. See, they have this thing that they call it now with Dodd-Frank. They call it living wills. Yes, you know how that's something we could relate to, right? We have a will, and within that will, we kind of tell them, hey, this is how we want to die, right? If I don't want to be resuscitated or emergency measures, stuff like that. Well, this is this was the too big to fail solution by not making them smaller. Regulators on Friday hit Citigroup, J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, and Goldman Sachs, right? So I think that's like 4 out of the 5 largest banks in the United States, and all of them in the top 10, right? Obviously, J.P. Morgan's number 1. Bank of America's number 2. I know Citi's number 3. I'm just not quite sure where Goldman fits. Are they 4, 5, or 6? It doesn't really matter, right? And then you got Wells Fargo and U.S. Bank, right? Those are the biggest banks out there. No shock to me, anyway. They said, Jason, they found weakness in the resolution plans. I guess they're calling these 4 out of the 8 largest banks in the United States. In other words, what they said was, well, gosh, if one of these banks go under, They're all going to go under, Jason. They can't essentially just kill one bank because, well, let's face it, the data that they're reporting to the New York Federal Reserve, well, it just may not be that accurate.
Well, and you can't just kill off all the banks without something to replace it with, right, Joe? So if these banks are allowed to go under, there's going to have to be a replacement. There's going to have to be something in place, and maybe a really drastic version of Lehman Brothers where maybe several of the big guys go out. A lot of small banks get sort of absorbed, and maybe some sort of a digital currency to tie it all together. So the safety will be in the digital currency. This will keep you safe if the big banks go under again. So which of the big banks are going under, Joe? I saw some derivatives issues going on. Maybe a couple of them are going under.
Yeah, that's the big problem. It's in these derivatives, and I know, you know what, nobody talks about these things. They don't get traded hardly at all. Just to give everyone a quick synopsis of these derivatives. They chop up everything into millions of pieces, scatter it all around, put it on their books, and pretend that all the debt is always going to be repaid at the full amounts. That's kind of the long story short. And when there's trouble, right, they've got to sell, quote unquote, assets, right? Treasuries, derivatives. And the problem is, look, wait a minute. These derivatives aren't even close to what you say they're worth. Yeah, we may have an issue. Remember Friday's show with Lynette Zhang was talking about with money markets as well? Yeah, we'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592, Joe and Jason. Patriot Radio News Hour here on this Monday. Yes, don't worry. Nothing to see here. It's going to be fine. Don't move your money out. Look, the Dow's up 350 points. See, it's okay. It's okay because we told people this Friday afternoon. And now everyone's even forgotten that we've even said it. The S&P's up 15, the NASDAQ down 43. Maybe NVIDIA, maybe, I don't know. Is it maybe a little overvalued, a little bubbly here? We'll see. The 10-year note, 4.27. Crude oil up 60 cents, 81.33. Gold's up, $13, $12, $1,233. Silver's higher as well, up 16 cents, $29.60. And diversify. Okay, so let's just review. If you missed Friday's show, go to the podcast and listen. Lynette Zhang was telling us about already the existing rules on money markets, but the new rules that are coming in October, right? So a lot of people, when they have more money in the bank than they want, they don't trust Wall Street. Why would they? Hey, I'll put my money in a money market account. It'll be safe there, right? And I'll get, I'll get a decent rate of return, I guess. I don't know what a money market's returning right now. Let's say 3 to 4%, something like that. Something like that. Well, guess what? As soon as there's trouble, they can charge you any fee that they deem necessary for you to withdraw what you thought was your money. Right, to prevent runs on the money market accounts. Oh, wait, there's more. They can tell you no. Yeah, no. Sorry, not today. Well, try tomorrow, maybe next week. Give us a call in a month. We'll let you know when. If it breaks the buck, they can just dilute your money. Yeah, they'll issue more shares, and all of a sudden, hey, I don't know, maybe you put $100,000 in there. Well, it was going to break the buck, that 100 grand. It's now 90. Sorry. Those are the facts. Those are the realities of what's coming. And most of that was already here. The banks, same thing. Remember Greece? Did you forget? Do you not know about Greece? Cyprus? At any time, they can just say, you know what? You are no longer allowed to take your money out of the bank. We'll allow you to keep paying your bills, though. You can do that. Pay your mortgage, your car payment. You just can't get your money out. But I think my bank's going to fail. Sorry. Too bad. These are the rules. And, of course, these banking regulations, like this was supposed to prevent at least the big banks, right? Who cares about the small ones, right? But at least for the big ones, right? We're gonna prevent that systemic risk. Now, how eager are they really to prevent it? Do you know how often they do these little tests? Well, they only do it every other year. They don't even do it every year, right? Every other year, that's enough. Look how much stuff has changed in the last 6 months. But no, we'll do it every other year. I keep telling you, you need to be way more diversified. Now, it's one thing about Wall Street. A lot of people think, well, Joe just says be diversified in Wall Street. No. You need to be diversified about where you have your money, whether it's in the bank, in a money market, in your stocks, in your bonds, all of it. You know you need to have gold and silver. You know you need to have it. But at least do yourself a favor. If you've got $50,000 or more, at least check out Y Refi. At least check them out. You get up to 10.25% fixed rate of return. It's not correlated to the stock market. It has nothing to do with the stock market. Maybe a good idea. 10.25%, that's a whole lot more than a money market account. It's a whole lot more than a money market account, isn't it? Check them out. InvestYRefi.com. That's the word invest, the letter Y, REFY.com, or just call them. I mean, that's the easiest thing. 888-YREFI24. You guys can use an existing IRA. I know a lot of you listen, got a lot of money in that IRA, and I get it. You're like, but Joe, the Dow and the S&P, right? It's like record highs. Right? I'm doing good. Right up until you're not. You know the bubble's here. You know this is nonsense. Can you imagine? They just basically said 4 of the biggest banks in the country have no way to unwind themselves. And here's what they said. They found fault in the way each of these banks plan to unwind their massive derivative portfolios. Now, where do these derivatives come from? They're contracts, guys. They're contracts. What are they tied to? Stocks, bonds, currencies, and interest rates. How good do you feel about all of those right now? Seriously. Feel good about the stock market at record highs? Do you really? Or do you kind of feel like, yeah, that's pretty bubblicious? And the fact that really, it's like 5 stocks. That is the stock market. How about bonds? Anyone feel good about bonds? Think about it last week. Japan now, right? Japan's on, oh, you're not playing fair with your currency. Of course, Japan's like, what are you talking about? Our currency's worthless, and so are all the bonds behind it. France and Italy on review at the EU about how they're going to be. This French election this week, this could send the markets in total turmoil. I have no idea what's going to happen there. But if oh my gosh, the extremists may win. Right? Currencies. Right? Look at the BRICS nation. How many weeks in a row have we gone now with more nations just jumping up and down saying we want to be a part of it? And then, of course, interest rates. Right? Right? Everyone's, we got to cut the rates. Forget about inflation. For example, Citigroup The firm came up well short, according to regulators, when they did a test, Jason, of how quickly they could unwind these derivatives, and essentially just said, that's not going to work.
I saw a number that derivatives held by American companies only is possibly more money than the entire world has in circulation.
Oh, yeah. Oh, by far.
Yeah.
This is humongous, trillions of dollars in derivatives here. It really is hard to imagine. You got to remember, these guys give them softballs to pass. It's not like they give them some horrible. They don't even give them the 07, 08 scenario. Oh, no. We made it better. No, it'll be less. Right? They give them softballs to get by. They said that while J.P. Morgan, Goldman, and Bank of America also were deemed to have shortcomings, Citigroup was considered by the FDIC to have the most serious deficiencies. So all you Citigroup guys out there, beware. And by the way, don't kid yourself. You're no better off at Bank of America, Goldman, J.P. Morgan. But again, if gosh, wouldn't you figure maybe they could have figured this out last year if they did the test last year? Nah, we didn't need to. We'll take it. We only do it every other year, Jason.
Well, when the Fed secretly printed $29 trillion instead of $5 trillion, and we didn't have during the Obama years, early Trump years, massive inflation. Makes me wonder if that's where they put it all, is in derivatives, where it wouldn't inflate the money, and they just stuck it in a place where they thought they had some value. Right, Joe? How much of that? Because the derivatives are not smaller than they were in 08. They're bigger. So that money a lot of it must have went there, Joe.
Well, guess what? I'm telling you right now. What does this mean? What does this mean? Because they're short. That means they're dumping it right now.
Yep.
Huge amounts of debt. There's a lot of talk all weekend long about these big banks trying to unload their bad debts now.
Yep.
So this is going to cause, Jason, one of these effects. We've been talking about. We don't know when it's going to start, but soon we're going to start seeing a lot of these other banks now have a lot of trouble because guess what? As soon as you start unloading this debt, now it has a price. See, when it was sitting on their balance sheet, they pretend, oh, no, well, it's going to get paid and paid in full. So that's what we would call an unrealized loss. Just like the Japanese bank. Remember the Japanese bank? What did they say? Oh, yeah. We got $7 billion in unrealized. That we're going to make realized losses between now and March of next year. Looks like Citi, B of A, Goldman, J.P. Morgan, by the way, all of those banks bigger than that bank in Japan, by the way. Jason, they're going to need to do the same thing and turn unrealized losses into realized losses.
There's going to be huge changes coming for sure, Joe. It's all being set up. That's the whole thing we've been talking about for the last couple of years with the inflation. This thing is moving in a very specific direction. It's very choreographed, Joe. This stuff should be crashing a little here, a little there. There should be little pieces falling off the car instead of the entire car blowing up all at once. But it definitely seems like a very choreographed dance of where we're headed in the next, I'd say, 12 months, Joe.
Yeah, it's just something where when we start looking at these four banks in particular, this is a big problem. This is something where, again, any misstep here, right? A landmine gets stepped on, the Fed makes a mistake, the Japanese bank makes a mistake, the EU makes a mistake. Any mistake now can be really multiplied into something that is much, much bigger here. And again, they don't want people to know how big the threat is. But here's the thing that when we look at this, we're going to start seeing a lot fewer profits from these major banks because they're going to start taking these losses because they couldn't, pass, let's call it the stress test that the Federal Reserve put on them, which now means all of those unrealized losses become realized. That means all these other banks got to get reevaluated, right? All of these, what are we called, regional banks need to be reevaluated. All these smaller banks need to be reevaluated because now the people that are evaluated can put a price on stuff. And when you can put a price on stuff, that's when you have a problem. Matter of fact, the first time so far, AAA rated mortgage-backed securities have been taking losses, Jason. So this happened for the very first time last week. So it's one thing, a lot of this stuff's junk. It's always been junk. But now even the best stuff, the AAA-rated stuff, these would be buildings that were new, completely full, all of this stuff. They're starting to take losses as well, Jason. And I think this has kind of been the canary in the coal mine. Let's just say the carbon monoxide's building in the mine. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592. Joe and Jason, Patriot Radio News Hour here on this Monday. And I'll just say this. Last week, that was one of our biggest weeks that we've had this year as a lot of buyers back into the markets here because they're learning, Jason. They're seeing what's happening with this bubble here, right? This is how all bubbles, all bubbles pop. It's always, oh yeah, they're at new all-time highs, but you get all the warning signs, right? Lack of participation, right? We know there's only a handful of stocks doing all the heavy lifting. We have major debt problems with not just commercial real estate or credit cards or mortgages. Those are the things that we were used to. Now we're talking countries and lots of them, right? We've got the war drums beating. That's always another telltale sign of what is coming. Friday we ran these $10 Liberties on sale, and we were blowing them out. I've only got 75 of them left. We had several hundred of these on Friday. Of course, Lynette Zhang probably woke some people up on Friday about how safe your money really isn't. Matter of fact, every single rule, every single law that has been passed since the financial crisis, every one of them, has put your money more at risk. I didn't do that. Jason didn't do that. Why are they doing this? Do you think that they've decided, oh, wait, you know what? Boy, these money markets, that looks too safe. That looks too safe. Because, we can tell them no, and we can charge them a fee to get their money out if they get scared enough. But you know what? We need to make it even worse. Now if they break the buck, we're going to make you take losses. As well as you can't get out, right? Could you imagine? Oh, yeah, you can. Oh, well, I've got $500,000 in my money market account. I want it. No. Or, sure, you can have it. Tell you what, it's going to cost you 25% of your money. Do you still want it? It's going to cost you 50% of your money. Do you still want it? Oh, well, no. Oh, well, guess what? We just broke the buck. So, that $500,000, it's now only $400,000 or $300,000. But if you want it now, it'll still cost you 50%. Right? I mean, this is what they put in place. I don't understand why people don't get it. The bank that's in your money, it's not yours. It's not. Legally, it's not yours. At any point in time, they can institute these rules. I want to close my bank account. Sorry. Sorry, can't. Can't do that right now. Check back with me later. Uh-oh, hey, your bank had to close. Had to go under. And, you had a lot of money in there. You did. And see, here's the problem. You know that insurance stuff we said? You know that $250,000 thing? That was meant like if some bank, Northwest Peon Bank went under, right? But see, this is a crisis. This is a crisis. See, it wasn't meant. Oh, we didn't tell you that. Oh, we didn't tell you the fine print. Oh, well, but it was a crisis, so it's different this time. Right? Tell you what. We'll let you have access to, 10, 20,000 of it. But the rest of it, we just need to hold on to it for a little while. I mean, we're not taking it. No, don't worry. We're not taking it. So you just got the stock that we gave you. Well, what can you do with the stock, you asked? Well, you can't do anything. No, not yet. Maybe later. You can get access to it. Maybe later you can sell it and get your money back. Just not right now. But see, we're not taking it. The money markets, they're just taking it. That's the horrible part, right? They're just going to take it. The remaining $10 liberties got gold up $13 this morning, 1 through 19, 1260. 20 or more, $1,250 at 800-951-0592. And we're also, listen, we've got a junk silver special going right now. Rolls of silver quarters are $230. Silver dimes, $115. Jason, just great value there as well, because it doesn't matter. Listen, everyone's different. There's a lot of people, hey, I can buy $20, $10 libs. Matter of fact, I may buy all 75. There's plenty of people that can do that. But there's a lot of other people that's like, I can't even do one. Pick up a roll of dimes at $150. Get smart here. Whatever you have to preserve, everybody needs to get diversified. Just because, well, gosh, I can't buy 20 $10 gold pieces doesn't mean you don't get to get diversified. You have to find a way to do it. 800-951-0592. Jason?
Yeah, if you don't have enough money to buy a $10 Liberty, then you have probably a problem with just saving at all. So yes, you start with silver. If you're lower income or your bill's a little heavier than your income, when you have a little bit, you start with silver. Start stacking silver. Roll the dimes here, roll the dimes there. Even if you come in and buy a roll of dimes, you have a few extra bucks. Joe and I, we've always got a little extra silver laying around. You could always buy a few silver eagles, individuals. We don't sell them on the air. That's not worth the show time to sell the odds and ends that I have on my desk every day. But start stacking silver as best you can, because what you really need is the habit of stacking silver. If you don't have a good habit of saving, then you're not going to have a good habit of putting metal together. And once you start stacking silver, you'd be surprised how your mind starts to reset how you see assets and money and everything. And one by one, your habits get better, right, Joe? And before you know it, suddenly you're earning more money on whatever it is you do on a daily basis. Suddenly you got more weight, more money coming in. And you start buying a $5 Liberty or a $10 Liberty, or you buy a $20 Liberty, and it progresses. But if you're going to sit there and just complain all the time or worry about the election 24 hours a day, you may not have enough brain space left for saving silver, Joe.
800-951-0592. We've had a few days to digest the CBO's new record high budget deficit. You should see what people are saying. We're going to talk about that next. $800-951-0592. Joe and Jason sitting here on this Monday, and the banks, the biggest banks, unable to prove that they can unwind themselves. Of course, even the scenarios they're given are softballs. And I think all of us kind of know that already, right? We kind of know, there's just no way. They're too big, too big. Too many things have to be marked to market for it to actually work. And we know about Japan, and we know now about France and Italy. The French election is a wild card right now. We're going to have to watch what happens there. But France has now been placed under review at the EU because their debts are skyrocketing. We knew about the CBO miraculously. Right? Okay, I guess we'll tell everyone the truth, right? The debt's going to be a lot higher than we said, right? It's going to be $2 trillion. Of course, it'll be more. It'll be more. But then they said, hey, over the next 10 years, the debt's going to be, I think it was like $57 trillion, something like that. Well, here's what's really bad about that. See, because in these projections, the CBO to get to 57 trillion. Now remember, I told you this would be a miracle, right? Jesus turning water into wine would have that would be nothing compared to this projection of only $57 trillion. Because here's what they decided to do to get there. We're going to have record tax collection every year. Every year, from here for the next 10 years. They also said, Jason, we're not going to have any recessions, right? Nothing, no slowdowns, right? Everything's going to be A-okay. And, oh, by the way, and we're going to increase taxes on everybody, like I said, and record collections and discretionary spending, right? It's not going to go crazy, and there's not going to be a big war either. Because I looked. I said, well, where's the war stuff? Right? I mean, did the Ukraine war come to an end? I didn't know about it. Did it end? I didn't see it ending. None of this is in there. And now these hedge funds are coming out and just really taking aim at how much debt there really is. And again, not just talking about the United States, talking about Japan, talking about Europe. Listen to what they say. There is literally no way that cuts can be made without an existential crisis. In other words, they're like, Jason, it's not even impossible. They didn't say there's 1 in a million. They didn't say, well, there's only a 10% chance. They're saying there's no way it's possible. It can't be done. And this is kind of what we've been talking about for a long time here, because that's what we've been waiting for. I think this is what the digital currency really is for, is when finally the crisis hits and it can't be done. And now they've got all the rules. They're going to take all the money from all the citizenry, Jason. That just looks like how all of this is lining up. It is lighting up that way, Joe, and the numerous things you mentioned in just the beginning of the show. I guess we're getting towards the end of the show at this point. That's lots of evidence that is pushing in this direction. The timing, Joe. What about the timing? I mean, I can't really tell if something really awful is going to happen before the election or if something really awful is going to happen after the election. I was watching some things, all different kinds of information over the weekend. I'm starting to think there's going to be something really awful that happens before the election, and you can feel it. And then I think there's something even more awful that's going to happen after the election. I think that's where we're headed, that we're going to be rocked with something that's going to freak a lot of people out, stuff that you're talking about, financially getting much worse. And then I think there's something even more awful that's going to happen after the election. I think that's where we're headed, that we're going to be rocked with something that's going to freak a lot of people out, stuff that you're talking about, financially getting much worse. And then I think there's something even more awful that's going to happen after the election. I think that's where we're headed, that we're going to be rocked with something that's going to freak a lot of people out, stuff that you're talking about, financially getting much worse.
And then on the other side, late 2024 and early 2025, I think we see something we've never seen before. Right? This is what we talk about getting ready, Joe. You got to get ready on this stuff. You have to be as financially independent and more hardy against this kind of stuff, Joe. Because look what they've just done in the last bunch of years, right? Look what the world is willing to do to you and your freedoms.
You know, it's so funny, and the Fed always. Well, it would have been worse without us. Right? Man, thank God we were here. You got to thank your lucky stars that we were here, because look how much worse it could have been without us. And the realities are, these are the guys that create this stuff. They've created all of this. And I hope you take it to heart. And I know a lot of you do, but there's a lot of you that have been listening for years and haven't done it. You see it, but you haven't done it. And again, right? You're conflicted because nobody wants to believe what I'm telling you. But what I'm telling you is the reality. Go talk to your money market guy. He'll be like, oh no, it'll be fine. He probably doesn't even know what the rules are. That's the sad part. Patriot Radio News Hour. Final segment coming up. 800-951-0592. Final segment here on this Monday. Gold and silver higher today. $10 liberties. This is the last day here. 1 through 19. 1260. 20 or more at 1250. Rolls of silver quarters. I mean, really down there right now. $230 for 40 silver quarters, pre-1965 U.S. government hallmarked silver quarters. Rolls of silver dimes, right? Half the amount. A $5 roll, 50 silver dimes at $115 at 800-951-0592. And it's kind of sad when you hear that people make decisions, like based on the Congressional Budget Office as an example, because they have no clue. See, they only get to do what they're told. I don't even know if the guys at the Congressional Budget Office even believe it, but it doesn't matter. Congress told us we can't. There's going to be no wars. There's going to be no recessions. We're going to tax the hell out of everybody, and we're going to have record revenues, even though the spending's still going to be too high. But, Jason, at the end of the 10 years, just so you know, right now they're at $2.8 trillion a year. Right now, with that ridiculous logic, with that idiotic logic, what's it going to be really? And everybody, if you talk to anybody with an IQ higher than room temperature, is literally saying you've got to at least double the debt. That's $70 trillion. But you got to remember, the Fed also has, $7 trillion, so they'll probably be up to 14 or 15 trillion. Jason, we're probably talking closer to 85, 90, and if things get really bad, it could be $100 trillion. I mean, seriously.
At what time frame are you talking?
10 years. 10 years.
10
That's
years.
it.
10 years.
10 years.
Well, it's been doubling over about every 8 years.
Yeah, that's what they've been saying. They're like, listen, the CBO's been projecting this nonsense forever, and guess what? In the last 8 years, we really haven't. Well, we had one. One time, 2 quarters that we were in a recession. One time, 2 straight quarters in a row of decline. But that was it. There was no because they just flooded the economy with cash. How bad is it really going to be? That's really and people they're so blind to this. They have no idea what's coming.
Doubling over from today would be $70 trillion in 2032. So in 8 years. So, I mean, it's not far-fetched. It's just, we played that piece on the Half-Empty Cup of Joe, that guy that was talking about, the IRS and how America's really run. And he was talking about how, look at how they double the money. He went all the way back to 1913. He's like, look, ever since the central bank's been in place, they double it every 10 years. Double. He's like, this is your dollar going down, half of what it is every 10 years. It's 100 years of that doesn't take long before your dollar's worth about a penny, Joe.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Get your gold and silver put away. 800-951-0592. Jason and I, we're coming right back with the Half Empty Cup.